I think we're all quite excited that it could be the so-called flood tunnel booby trap system. Of course, we're going to investigate.
There's definitely a void below these rocks.
It lines up exactly with the anomaly, so it is the anomaly.
For years, the Lagina brothers have chased the promise of a vault filled with pirate plunder or Templar relics, but a series of stunning new discoveries is forcing them to confront a chilling possibility that the real treasure of Oak Island is a truth about who was here, what they built, and why they went to such extraordinary lengths to hide it. As they open a 220-year-old hatch into a forgotten underground world, they are finding something far more valuable and far more terrifying than gold: the haunting in the sonar. The beginning of the end started not with a shovel, but with a sound wave. The ideological heart of the hunt had always been the money pit, a vertical column of hope and despair. But technology has a way of revealing that the straightest path is rarely the true one. When Marty Lagina stared at the latest sonar image, he saw something that defied all previous logic. There, running parallel to their main search area, was a wall. This was no trick of the light or natural rock formation. Its structure was too clean, its lines too deliberate. It was a declaration of intent, etched into the bedrock by human hands. The immediate chilling question hung in the air of the war room. Who built it, and what was it walling off? This single ghostly image became the team's new obsession. To bring it to life, they turned to data expert Steve, who began feeding the new information into a powerful 3D modeling program. This wasn't just about creating a map, it was about resurrecting a ghost. As Steve's computer processed the data, a stunning three-dimensional picture of the underworld began to emerge. The team watched, transfixed, as the program rendered what lay hidden in the darkness. The wall, it turned out, was part of something much larger. It pointed toward a period of human activity at depths they had never thought possible, a hidden layer of history in the earth around the money pit. Was it a secret passage, the entrance to a hidden chamber, or was it the very foundation of the original works, the master blueprint they had been searching for all along? The digital discovery demanded a physical confirmation.
Rectangular in shape as the way it's cutting back. It's rectangular.
Make rectangle things. Don't know. I mean, it's a rectangular object.
This led them to a new mysterious cave, located a short distance from the primary search area, a place they would come to call Aladdin's Cave. From the moment they lowered the first camera, they knew it was special. Deep inside, at a depth of 65 feet, were wooden beams. This was the telltale sign, the unmistakable evidence of human intervention. But the cave was fighting back. A persistent water leak, a familiar Oak Island curse, threatened to halt their progress before it could even begin. For Rick Lagina, however, this obstacle was a sign of hope. The water wasn't a problem, it was proof. It meant they were close to the island's circulatory system, the network of tunnels that both protected the treasure and promised a path to it. To truly understand Aladdin's Cave, they needed more than a simple camera. They needed to see through the water and the mud. They brought in Blaine Carrick, a specialist in underwater imaging, armed with one of the most advanced pieces of sonar equipment available, the Echologger DACES 710. This wasn't just a fish finder, this was military-grade technology, a machine that fires high-powered radar signals and analyzes their reflections to build a perfect 3D image of its surroundings. It was the ultimate weapon against the island's darkness. As the sonar probe descended into the murky depths of the cave, the team gathered in the war room, their eyes glued to the monitors. The next morning, as the final image rendered, a collective gasp went through the room. The scan revealed what the camera could not. Inside the natural cavern was a distinct geometric shape, an area that appeared to be a man-made structure, a room or a tunnel now buried under centuries of silt and sediment. They had found a secret, hidden inside a secret. The island had given them their next move. They had to get inside. While technology was mapping the island's secrets, the team was also engaged in a brutal physical assault on another front, the Garden Shaft. Long thought to be an early searcher tunnel, it had become the team's best hope for bypassing the flooded, collapsed chaos of the main money pit. Their goal was to drive a massive steel caisson down to a depth of 95 feet, where they believed a tunnel connected to the baby blob, a mysterious seismic anomaly that could be the location of the vault. But at 90 feet down, they hit a wall. Not of stone, but of thick, impossibly hard clay. The moment was a poignant one for Marty Lagina, who couldn't help but recall his grandfather's life spent toiling in the iron mines of Michigan. This was the same kind of backbreaking, unforgiving labor, a connection to his own family's legacy of hard work. There was no technology that could finesse their way through this. It required brute force. Rick and Marty descended into the shaft themselves, taking turns wielding a massive 70-pound pneumatic jackhammer. The machine, powered by compressed air, roared to life, its deafening report echoing off the steel walls of the caisson. It was a punishing, exhausting battle against the earth. The heavy machine would buck and jam in the compacted soil, fighting them for every inch. Then it happened. In the middle of the fight, Rick felt the spade bit of the jackhammer strike something solid. It wasn't the dull thud of rock, it was a different sound, a hollow impact that sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. He knew instantly that they had reached it. Confirmation came that afternoon from the Dumas contracting team. The garden shaft had reached a depth of 95 feet. They had broken through. They were looking at a tunnel, roughly 7 feet high. When Rick descended into the newly opened space, the air was thick with the smell of ancient damp earth. The beam of his flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing the remnants of wood along the walls and ceiling. These were the bones of the original structure. As they carefully began to excavate the tunnel, pushing forward an additional 32 inches, they made another critical discovery. Rick noticed that the soil beneath one particular spot felt hollow. Digging carefully, they unearthed round wooden pieces, perfectly preserved logs that had been part of the tunnel's construction. The style of construction was eerily familiar, matching techniques described in a Reader's Digest article from 1965, the very article that had sparked Rick's lifelong obsession. It was a moment of profound, chilling validation. They were not just in a tunnel, they were inside the mystery itself, walking in the footsteps of the original depositors for the very first time. Marty, looking at the evidence, felt a certainty that had eluded them for 15 years. They were only a few feet, he estimated, from the spot where the entire legend began. The unthinkable timeline of Lot 5. Just as the team was breaking through into the island's hidden tunnels, a parallel investigation on the western side of the island was about to shatter its known history. Metal detection expert Gary Drayton and Jack Begley began work on Lot 5, a newly acquired piece of the Oak Island puzzle. Almost immediately, they began finding artifacts that rewrote the timeline. They found a stone structure as old as the garden shaft, tools dating back 400 years, and a 1700 square nail. This confirmed significant human activity long before the discovery of the money pit. But then came the find that defied all explanation. Buried in the soil was half of a Roman coin. The date was unmistakable. 300 BC. The implications were staggering. A Roman artifact from the 3rd century BC in Nova Scotia? It was impossible. It was a find that belonged in a museum in Europe, not in the dirt of a small Canadian island. It suggested a connection to the old world that predated Columbus by nearly 1,800 years. The discovery sent a shockwave through the team. But Lot 5 was not done giving up its secrets. Soon after, Gary's metal detector screamed again. He unearthed a heavy ancient lead coin or token covered in intricate engravings. It wasn't a government-issued coin. Gary recognized it as something akin to an ancient Roman trade token, a piece of private currency used by merchants or other entities. This was the second piece of the Roman puzzle. The team knew they were onto something of monumental importance. They brought the lead token to the Oak Island Interpretive Center for analysis, where archaeologist Laird Niven carefully cleaned the artifact. Using a state-of-the-art X-ray fluorescence (XRF) scanner, analytical specialist Emma began to probe the coin's elemental makeup. The results were complex and fascinating. The object was made of 2 distinct layers. One was almost pure lead, but the other was a composite of iron, copper, and silicon, all bound with natural lead from an ancient mining source. To trace its origin, they needed a more powerful tool, an X-ray diffraction (XRD) scan, which could identify its precise mineral structure. The results of the XRD scan were the most explosive yet. The unique mineral signature found in the token was a match for mines located in a geographic belt that stretches from modern-day Iran through the Mediterranean all the way to France and Spain. But Emma was able to narrow it down even further. There was one area whose mineral composition was a near-perfect match, the coast of Italy. Suddenly, the Roman connection was no longer a wild theory. It was backed by hard scientific data. The coin found on Lot 5 wasn't a stray drop, it was a breadcrumb that led directly back to the heart of the Roman Empire. This discovery resonated with historian Zena Halpern's controversial theory that the Knights Templar, a powerful order with deep connections to ancient knowledge and trade networks, had a presence on Oak Island. The Templars, adept at finance and international travel, could have been the very group that used such tokens. The story of Oak Island was no longer a local Canadian mystery. Its tendrils now reached back through 2 millennia, connecting this tiny island to the rise and fall of empires. With the timeline of the island shattered, the team turned their attention to a massive, enigmatic structure that had haunted the island for decades: the Great Quadrilateral. First documented in the 1990s by the legendary surveyor and longtime island resident Fred Nolan, this 32-foot-tall stone structure was something he believed was ancient and purposeful. Now, with landowner Tom Nolan, Fred's son, by their side, the Laginas set out to finally understand the purpose of this colossal stone feature on Lot 13. With Billy in the driver's seat of the big yellow excavator, the team got to work. They were digging at the northeast corner of the old stone structure. The engine roared, and the machine carefully scooped out chunks of earth, one bucket at a time. Standing nearby was Gary Drayton, watching closely. He's the guy with a sharp eye for treasure. Every time the excavator dropped a load of dirt, Gary checked it, just in case something special was hiding in the soil. And it didn't take long. Gary spotted something dark and strange, a small piece of coal. That might not sound exciting, but for this team, it was gold. Coal is made from ancient plants, so scientists can use it to figure out how old something is. If this coal was found near the structure, it could help them find out when the structure was built. Then Gary found something heavier, a curved piece of metal. He held it up, wiped off the dirt, and squinted at it. Right away, he had a hunch. It looked like part of a cannonball. That would mean there was once military activity on this very spot, a long time ago. A weapon, hidden in the dirt for centuries? That's big. As the digging continued, Marty Lagina noticed something odd. The soil didn't look natural. It wasn't packed down like untouched ground. Instead, the layers looked messy, like someone had already dug here in the past and then filled the hole back up. Stones were mixed in weirdly, and dirt was all over the place. Marty said what everyone was thinking. Someone's been here before. They were hiding something. The team didn't stop. They kept digging and kept finding more clues. They found a piece of old clay, probably from the 1700s. Then they found a shard of glass, small but clear as day, and they found it right at the edge where land meets the sea. Dr. Spooner, the team's scientist, took a good look. He checked the layers of earth and confirmed what they had all hoped. They had reached the same level Fred Nolan talked about decades ago. Nolan had once discovered a stacked stone foundation in this area, and now the team was standing right on it. They had found the very spot he worked so hard to prove was important. Fred Nolan had passed away, but in that moment it felt like he was still there, watching. The team wasn't just digging in the ground, they were picking up where Fred left off. They were honoring his hard work, his dreams, and his belief that Oak Island held secrets. With each piece of glass, clay, or metal, they were closer to the truth. Not just about treasure, but about the island's long hidden history. And they weren't going to stop now. The treasure may be found, but at what cost? What if Oak Island was never meant to be uncovered at all? Smash that like button and subscribe for more.